Back in 2017, after its release, a lot of people sought a sequel to Assassin's Creed Origins, and most people wanted that sequel to contain Bayek of Siwa, the main character of the original Egyptian Assassin's Creed game. And it made a lot of sense. After the absolute disasters of AC Unity and Syndicate, Ubisoft were looking to do a soft reboot of the series, and they were looking to do it in ancient time periods, going back before the industrial times that they had reached in the mainline series. And so we began with ancient Egypt and the origins of the Assassin Brotherhood. And what a lot of fans expected was a sequel set in ancient Europe, moving from Egypt to Rome to finally Greece, where we would see a complete culmination of the introduction to the Brotherhood, as opposed to the somewhat shallow origin story that we got in Assassin's Creed Origins. However, instead of this, we of course saw Bayek put to the side, Aya put to the side, and the story of Assassin's Creed Origins largely ignored as Ubisoft released Assassin's Creed Odyssey instead, which took the series back even further in time, which to a lot of people was the worst possible decision that the series could have made, and I would have to agree. Especially after, in Assassin's Creed Origins, a sequel was clearly set up. A sequel not involving Bayek of Siwa, but Aya, his wife, who in my opinion is the most interesting character in Assassin's Creed Origins. The fact that a mother who lost her child and filled that void with rage, violence and vengeance wasn't explored in more detail is an absolute travesty in my opinion, as it's a fascinating character archetype with endless storytelling possibilities. So today I'm going to quickly talk about what I think an Aya sequel could have been, how I wish the Assassin's Creed series moved on after Assassin's Creed Origins, and what I wish they did with the series. First and foremost, to set this trilogy of games up, we would have to largely change the ending of Assassin's Creed Origins. After Bayek kills Flavius and Bayek and Aya separate, her hunt for Julius Caesar would begin. But instead of seeing it crammed into the last 20 minutes of that game, we would see Origins simply end there, and we would open to a Roman sequel, Assassin's Creed Empire. The beginning of the game would see Aya arrive alone in Rome, with nothing but a hidden blade and a hood, with the idea of the hidden ones in her mind, but without a very clear vision of what that actually entails. And so throughout the first half of the game, she would have to seek out allies in the city, using a couple past contacts to build allies, to make connections, and to fully understand the goings-on of Rome. Very early on in the game, we would see that Rome has been infiltrated by the Order of the Ancients, all the way up to its highest office, and we would see Aya hunt out various members of the Order, eliminating corrupt members of councils and parliaments. Throughout this time, we would also see the Brotherhood system make a return, as Aya would begin building the Hidden Ones as a truly formulated brotherhood, an order of men and women who oppose Caesar and who seek true liberty. However, early on in the game, Aya would be far more picky with who she allowed within the Brotherhood, putting a stringent age restriction and not taking in any children or young adults, as to harken back to the trauma that she experienced from the death of Kemu. Despite this, she would take in an orphaned Greek boy, a boy left alone in the streets, homeless and fighting for his life. She would reluctantly start training this boy and incorporate him into her plan to take down Caesar. And over what I'd imagine to be a 5-year storyline, I would have built a decently sized sect of the Hidden Ones within Rome, and would have began sending various Hidden Ones across the continent to spread the message of the Brotherhood. As well as this, the tenets of the creed would progressively be built throughout the game, as too with the motto "nothing is true, everything is permitted." The game, of course, would conclude in the same way that Assassin's Creed Origins would conclude, with Aya now fully dedicated to the mantle of Amunet, breaking into Caesar's palace and striking the first blow alongside Brutus to finally take down the Roman Emperor. This sequel would also take the storyline of the Hidden Ones DLC in Assassin's Creed Origins and incorporate it into the main game as a side mission, forcing Aya to return to Egypt, return to her place of most trauma, and reunite with Bayek, as the two would discuss the further formation of the Brotherhood. So we would reach the end of Assassin's Creed Empire with a fully formed Assassin Brotherhood. And then finally we would come to the third game in this Ancients trilogy, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Okay, maybe give it a different name for the sake of, not relating to the real Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but regardless, this game would be set in ancient Greece, as we would see a dissecting storyline that would see Bayek and Aya both present throughout. A couple of years after Caesar's death, Aya and Bayek would both simultaneously travel to Greece, either to further expand the Brotherhood, or to expel talks of the Orders of the Ancients making a resurgence, and whilst Aya would be fully dedicated to this goal, Bayek would have slightly different intentions in mind, more akin to Ezio in Assassin's Creed Revelations, as he would begin seeking out Isu technology that he found out about in the temples in Assassin's Creed Origins, actually tying that into his character. Because as fantastic as the tombs are in Assassin's Creed Origins, it doesn't really make sense in the context of the game for them to exist. Bayek continually sees and hears these messages from the ones who came before, but never really reacts to them in any meaningful way. He never really cares about their existence. He kind of just experiences experiences them and then moves on with his day as if it's a normal everyday occurrence to hear 75,000-year-old messages from a technically advanced super race. So we'd see Bayek hide his true intentions from Aya, causing a further rift between the two, as Aya would have tunnel vision on her goal of taking down the Orders of the Ancients. This rift would be further amplified by Aya's young student, who Bayek would see as an attempt from her to replace their dead son. Throughout the course of the game, we'd see Aya take the Brotherhood in a direction more akin to the Levantine assassins, something that Bayek would massively disagree with, adamant that the Brotherhood should entirely stay underground, stay in the shadows, not draw any attention to themselves, as opposed to Aya, who wishes to more publicize their killings. This Greek setting would also allow for a bit of an origin story for Aya, as of course her mother was Greek, and so we'd hear stories of how Aya was trained in the ways of combat by her parents, which may slightly contradict the lore of the Assassin's Creed Origins novel, but I don't really give a shit. We'd find out that Aya's parents were expert combatants, and we may even meet some side characters who knew her mother. So after Aya's hunted down various members of the Order of the Ancients, we'd uncover a plot in which the Order of the Ancients were in fact hunting down artifacts from Hermes Trismegistus, which would also allow the game to link into the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood DLC, the Da Vinci Disappearance, which includes the Cult of Hermes. The Cult of Hermes could even be a sect of the Order of the Ancients that breaks off. Of course, the goal of the Order would be to find the staff of Hermes Trismegistus, which would also be the natural conclusion of Bayek hunting down Isu artifacts, forcing Bayek and Aya to work together one more time to prevent the Order from getting their hands on the staff. As the two would search to track down the staff, it would lead them both to an Isu temple, where they would finally come into conflict with the leader of the Order of the Ancients, who would shockingly be revealed to be Aya's mother, who to this point both Aya and Bayek believed to be long dead. At this point, it would be revealed that both Aya's mother and Aya herself were ancient descendants of Isu. And when I say ancient, I mean they have some Isu blood in them the same way Ezio, Altair, and Desmond do. A fact that essentially gave Aya's mother a god complex, and led her to become single-mindedly focused on hunting down Isu artifacts, understanding her ancestry, and uncovering her greater purpose in the world. A character trait which would mirror Aya's stubborn tunnel vision. However, this revelation would entirely break Aya's focus, unsure if she's able to kill her own mother in the name of her creed. And after a moment of hesitation, she allows her mother to escape, but not before they all uncover the truth, that the Staff of Hermes is sealed away in the lost city of Atlantis. And as they each uncover the location of the lost city, they race to its entrance, as both Aya and her mother can unlock the doors thanks to their Isu DNA. As Aya and Bayek reach the entrance to Atlantis, they see it's already been opened, and as they enter the lost city, they see on the ground a lonely, withered skeleton. The skeleton of Pythagoras, who has long since given up his own immortality. The entire entrance to the city has been lit up, but suddenly, before Aya can even react, Bayek is taken hostage by her mother, holding the Staff of Hermes and wrapping a long blade around Bayek's neck. Her mother gives a long speech, talking about motherhood generally, which all in all has been one of the main themes of the entire trilogy. But before she can finish her monologue, Bayek tries to escape, flicking out his hidden blade and stabbing Aya's mother directly in the throat. However, of course, Aya's mother has the Staff of Hermes, and the wound immediately heals before his blade is even removed. Bayek takes a step back, suddenly aware of the immortal opponent he faces. And before he can say another word, Aya stabs him straight through the heart. At this, Aya is taken over by rage, heartbroken at the loss of her last true connection to her child and to the love of her life. And so begins a boss fight between Aya and her mother, a boss fight which is of course unbeatable. However, just as the two wear each other out and it becomes clear that Aya has no chance of winning, the Greek boy she rescued from Rome all those years ago shows up, appearing out of nowhere to disarm Aya's mother of the staff. Aya asks the Greek boy how he knew to come, and he tells her that Bayek sent a message to the entire assassin order about where they were going and what to do if they didn't come back. Bayek may not have loved or even liked the boy, but he trusted his wife's judgment, and he trusted anyone who would call themselves a hidden one. In the last hours of his life, Bayek did something that would save Aya's life. In these last moments, Bayek makes up for his biggest mistake. Now a fair fight, and with the added fire of her dead husband, Aya takes on her mother once and for all, fighting her until finally she beats the woman who raised her, the woman who trained her, and the woman who sought out to kill her, until finally she takes her mother to her knees. And after letting out some tears, Aya takes her hidden blade and slowly sticks it in her mother's throat. With the leader of the order dead and the staff uncovered, Aya stands covered in blood. The Greek boy looks at Bayek and asks Aya if they should revive him using the spear, and Aya takes a moment to think, looking at the Staff of Hermes, looking at Bayek, looking at her mother, looking at Pythagoras, and looking at the assassin insignia that at this point Bayek has carved onto his own shoulder. And as she turns her head up to her own adopted son, she smiles, saying that Bayek is finally where he's wished to be for decades, back together with his son in the field of reeds. Aya instructs the boy to lift Bayek, and makes the decision to leave the Staff of Hermes exactly where it is, as the power the Piece of Eden holds is simply too much for any mortal human to handle, resealing the gates of Atlantis to allow Layla Hassan to re-enter it 2 millennia later. With that, a true origin story for the Assassin Brotherhood has been told. Bayek's arc in Origins is finally completed. Aya finally has meaningful character development and a fleshed out story. Each of the 3 major nations have been explored, and everything's in place for the modern day events of Assassin's Creed Valhalla to still take place. So that is my dream idea for an Assassin's Creed trilogy. That, in my opinion, is the biggest wasted opportunity in the entire franchise, and I truly do want to know what you guys think of it. Let me know in the comments down below, do you love my idea, do you hate my idea, and why? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit like, and if you're new here and want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe with post notifications turned on. And with all that being said, I've been Joe, aka Founder Scarab, and I will see you in the next one.